Hello and welcome to another build video for Moze. This is another fun one, not really a meta build, although it does perform rather well if I use some other weapons, but as I usually like to do, this is going to be focused on specific theme. And first I would like to adjust this. Your connection is now active thing that is really annoying and on my screen. I'm going through the slaughter shaft and halfway through it my internet started being a piece of shit, and so I ended up having to restart my router, and just rest assured that hotfixes are applied and everything. I mean, I think it would say something if it wasn't. Anyways, hotfixes are applied, everything is up to date and whatnot. So to the build, what this is I call it the Bearonator, and it's a hybrid Iron Bear and foot soldier build where we focus on one weapon, which is this abundant compressing Trevonator. Any Trevonator. I do definitely recommend, if you're going to do the build, that you want to have a Trevonator that is radiation cryo. That is going to be definitely the best one to have. And that's for the main reason that, well, radiation covers shields, cryo covers armor, and both of them have no penalty to red bars at all. So uh, either way, you're going to have something that has bonus damage or no penalty in TBHM. And normally I just stick to the cryo on this one because it burns through the shields and pretty much everything. Anyways, like there's not a lot of stuff that has really strong shields. And if I do come up with against something that I do need to work on the shields, or like a group, if there's a group of just blue and red things that I want to tear through quick with no chance of green or armor bars, then I might switch it to radiation sometimes. I do that occasionally, but for the most part, I like to stick on cryo because it has the chance to freeze enemies, and it just feels stronger overall doing it that way for me. And this anoint really helps. Obviously, it's a very strong anointment, so it's nice to have a good strong anointment on your weapon. Other than that, you see that I have the Kibsworth, I have this Cutsman, and I have a projectile recursion. Now these three, first of all, they're all Maliwans, so they go for match set. That's why we have 4 Maliwan weapons equipped. Secondly, I use these weapons to complete the takedown. This recursion alone, I could do the entire takedown using nothing but this recursion, and it's easy and quick, and like, it's really easy. This thing is absolutely disgusting, and that's not even stacking any other ASEs. Just with this anointment and my skills that I have, this thing is dirty in the takedown. Really dirty. Really easy to get through with this. And for Wotan, I use a combination of all three of these weapons. I don't really use this for Wotan. I do go through and use it for the trash mobs and stuff like that. Just the main thing is this build is based on using this weapon because I enjoy using it. It's not the strongest weapon in this loadout even. If I use just these three instead of that, they're probably stronger overall. But this one is strong enough to do content, and it's enjoyable to use. I very much like this weapon, and so that's why I've made a build around it. And the shield I use is the recharger. I just have a preference for rechargers. I really like them. This one has some nice rolls on it. It has a 10% max health, which is going to help with our Iron Bear health. And then we got the 15% chance to absorb bullets as ammo, which helps with not only keeping up our ammo, so because this is a Blastmaster build, so we don't want to reload at all, so that does help with that a little bit. And it also is going to help us be a little tankier while we're on foot. And this is, again, a hybrid build, so we will be spending time in Iron Bear doing damage, and we will be spending time on foot. And part of that is, when we're on foot, we're trying to get as many kills as we can, so we can make use of this anointment. This is a really strong anointment. I think Hurdy-Gurdy on the forums tested that it lasts for about 10 seconds, and you can stack the time. So if you get 2 kills, it's going to stack to 20 seconds, up to 3, up to 30 seconds, I believe, is what he was saying. It does not stack how fast it cools down, but it just does stack the duration the more kills you get. So this is a really powerful anointment. You get that 30% cooldown rate just off of 1 kill for 10 seconds. Really strong. We have the cloning maddening tracker with the on grenade thrown. This recurrent hex also works really well, but I'm lucky to finally have one of these. It's been a long time, and I have a few different anointed ones now. This event right now is a really good time to try to get your hands on one of these, or otherwise trade. I highly recommend this grenade. Obviously, it's pretty much a given for most. It makes things a lot easier. Now, I am using this Blastmaster, which has a lot of benefits to it. It's got the splash damage, which is going to help Iron Bear and on foot, since the Trevonator is a splash weapon, and so is the Kibsworth, and so is the Recursion. They all have splash to them. And now the Cutsman will actually benefit from the splash in the way I use it, because I only use it for Wotan. That's the only time I ever use this Cutsman. And so the balls on it, when you shoot it, let's just take a shot with it real quick so you can just visually see what I'm speaking about. Now the 2 balls there on each side of the shot, let's advance it a little bit. You can see it has the 2 balls. Now those count as splash damage. The laser in between does not. Both of those balls, Wotan is a huge target, so when I'm using it to strip Wotan's shields, it is going to count the splash on him. So that's why that benefits that as well. And then obviously it has the weapon damage, which is very nice, and the grenade damage, which goes along with the pull the holy pin that's on here. We have 1 in Vampire, 1 in Redistribution. You definitely want that 1 in Redistribution, especially if you have one of the lower mag sizes like I have here. We only get it up to 20 something, since we're not really boosting it too much. We do take match set and Iron Bank. So let's see, actually with match set and Iron Bank, with that one I have 24, so we extend it by 10 extra. It's not that great when it comes to regen, but it's good enough. Since we also have means of destruction and we're doing a lot of splash, so we get a lot of that ammo back. We run this, and so we got the weapon damage, which is also a really nice roll. Other things that you could go for, like plus health, and that would help your Iron Bear tankiness if you want to focus on that a little bit more. Plus shield is always nice. Basically, this is what you really would want, though. This is pretty much a god roll for the build, especially since we combine it with this that has also area of effect and grenade damage. So our grenades are boosted by area of effect, grenade, more grenade, and splash. Our grenades are really strong in this build, which is awesome since we have the maddening tracker. They do a lot of damage, actually. It's pretty amazing. So that's great, and as you can see, I went over it, but I didn't talk about it yet. I'm using a last stand. You could use a snowdrift or whatever you want. Really, I have this with max health. Sometimes I'll put that on when I just want to boost my Iron Bear instead of on my on foot. And here's another thing with the Trevonator. It has bad accuracy. You can see how big that circle is, and it's kind of pretty bad. I do have this, which I use sometimes. I was using it at first until I got that other one. You can see how big of a difference it made with the circle. So accuracy is really good for the Trevonator. There's actually a DPS increase because you will be hitting most of your shots on the head. And when it comes to like something like that big, a lot more of your shots are gonna get right on the head. So you will be having an DPS increase if you're aiming for crits and stuff like that, and you use accuracy. So that's another good stat to have. And sometimes I like to use this one too, just because it's got the cooldown rate, the mag size, the accuracy. It makes the build more convenient to play. And so if I combine that with the Snowdrift with the max health and the mag size, that makes my Iron Bear tankier. That makes my shot. It makes it so I don't really have to pay attention to my ammo. It's just it makes it more convenient to play. But this combination with the grenade and all the bonuses we have is just the most damage. So I prefer to use this. Now I already went over this. This is just for the takedown. Okay, so time to get into the skills that we're using. Again, this is an Iron Bear / Infantry hybrid, so we want skills that boost both. So we do have 5 out of 5 Grizzled, which combines really well with this. We're going to have a lot of cooldown rate if we're getting kills. actively while we're on foot. We will be. We have this to extend our Iron Bear, of course, it's a given. This also gives you, more damage, more armor. It's a given for Iron Bear. Auto Bear, you don't have to take this, but I prefer to have Auto Bear. I like to have that little extra bit of damage after I get out of it. And also you can use that to have, if you have annoyance that while Auto Bear is active, you do 75% fire damage. So that's always nice to have too. And then we got Fire in the Sky Dan, definitely a good damage increase there with fire. Means of Destruction is a given. Pull the Holy Pen works really well in this build, mainly because we are boosting the shit out of our grenade damage. Vampire, obviously we want to stay alive, so Short Fuse, another pretty good damage boost while we're on foot, especially with the Trevonator. It's gonna proc a lot of times with this. It's only, you can get a ×6. I've been trying, I have a lot of them, but I have even more in my bank, and I've only gotten one ×6, and it wasn't a preferential one, so I like this one a lot. It has a high damage roll compared to a lot of the other ones I've had. As you can see, that one has a really high damage roll, but I don't like the corrosion. I'd rather have the cryo, so I go with this one. Also, the annoyance is not as good. Anyways, yeah, Short Fuse. It's really nice with the Trevonator and with the grenades damage and stuff. We got nothing in the Shield Retribution tree. And then here is just basically we take this for Iron Bear damage, and then everything else is basically, this is also helping our Iron Bear damage. But everything else in this tree basically is to increase Moze's on foot damage and just the utility of the build. So we need the magazine size to regenerate properly. We need the 2 out of 1 really to get a good amount of regeneration in that low mag Trevonator. And then sprint and shoot at the same time is nice because if you don't need it, but if you don't have it, if you're running like this and then you shoot, like you have the thing where it puts your gun down, unless you start backing up and like moving around to break the sprint animation, it'll like sprint, not sprint, sprint, not sprint, so your gun keeps going down without it. That's why I like to have that skill when I'm doing a build like this. I don't have to worry about that happening. Go ahead and reload again so we can get the Blastmaster counting down, boosting our damage again. Alright, so we got Match Set and Iron Bank, that's to extend our mags. We got Redistribution, 2 out of 1 to get some good regen. We do want this 1 point in Scrappy. It is pretty important with the Trevonator because it has a very high recoil. Just 1 point is enough to keep it manageable. As you can see, it's pretty manageable. I do have to pull down a little bit if I'm spamming it, but it's 1 point, it really helps it be manageable. Stoke the Embers, just boost our fire damage. And Russian Offensive, I already explained that one. Yep, looks like we explained pretty much everything. There's nothing revolutionary about these choices except for the fact that we are doing hybrids, or it's kind of a mix of Moze damage stuff and Iron Bear damage stuff. Vanquisher rocket pods, I definitely prefer these. A lot of people like to use exploding bullets. I don't like how they fire. I don't like the ramp up time. I'd rather have the big bursts. And so the way we play this build is we don't want to waste our Iron Bear, so if we have just easy targets, we'll stick on foot. Like when we start rounds, usually there's a bunch of easy targets, and then once you get a little bit into the wave more, all of a sudden a bunch of hard stuff spawns. Except for in the first round, you'll have all the rocket badasses spawn right off the bat, but in the subsequent waves and rounds, it usually starts off with a tame spawn, and then you'll start getting the harder things. Like the goon. So you want to use Iron Bear to take out priority targets, or at least soften them up. Like tinks, they take a long time to kill. So normally I just use Iron Bear to soften them up. It depends on what's around though. If there's a lot of rocket spamming badasses, I'll prioritize them instead. If there's just the tanks, then so I'm gonna get out right now because there's not enough hard targets to justify being an Iron Bear. So I'm just gonna save it, get out early, that way I can get my cooldown back quicker. I know there's a few easy kills I can get, in order to speed that along. Looks like we're starting to get the hard things spawning, and I got fucking crowd, which I hate. Just trying to take it, kind of just stay safe for a minute, let our cooldown come back. Since we did come out early, it's going to come back pretty quickly. Especially if we get a few kills, we'll speed it along. See how Grizzled and that anointment just gave us our cooldown back really quick. So now we got Iron Bear again to go take out these rocket badasses. And a lot of times what I'll do, if I plan on getting out early, like right now I know Iron Bear is going to end pretty quick because if you watch my health bar, I'm getting screwed. No, we still don't have enough, so I don't want to waste, I don't want to use it right now. There's still a low amount of enemies. So I'm going to get out, kind of let Topped Off do its thing. Oh, another thing I forgot to mention is I do have a mental shield also, and now it's just preference whether you want to use the recharger where you're going to be tankier on foot, or you want to use the multivitamin where you're going to have a lot more health in your Iron Bear and be tankier in your Iron Bear. You definitely want to get that anointment on whichever you choose though. Now see what I was saying about the accuracy, all those would have hit his head if I was using that accuracy comm instead of the one I'm using, but I really like the grenade damage on this combination. Goliath, you just want to pop their heads off as quick as you can. I totally missed that shit. We're gonna have this asshole up here, so I'll hop an Iron Bear, deal with him, because it's kind of hard to deal with in the position I was in. I'm gonna hop out of Iron Bear again. Round 5 is a little slower than some of the other rounds. Like leading up to this, most of the rounds I spent like full duration in the Iron Bear because there's like 5 or 6 rocket badasses at a time, plus like 5 tanks, you know. But right now it's pretty tame, so you know, I'm missing a lot of these shots. But now it's pretty tame, so we don't really need to use Iron Bear too much. Now we definitely want to have it because we want to take these guys out as fast as we can, so I'm glad I saved it for this. We got a lot of damage coming in right now, so just probably going to lose Iron Bear. Yep, just tried to do as much damage as we could there. A lot of that was because I was just base tanking it and we don't have any health boost right now, so my Iron Bear is not that tanky. So I could make some of those different choices I have in my inventory to change that, but I prefer to have the easiest survivability on foot and the extra damage. So that's why I'm using what I am using. This build is very versatile. You can spend almost all your time in Iron Bear if you want, as long as you set up. So like a good thing to do is just soften a bunch of targets before Iron Bear ends, and then once you get out you can get a bunch of kills and get it back pretty quickly. So like if there was 5 kinks or whatever, you would just strip their armor and their shields with on all of them. Oh, I just messed up there. I didn't throw any grenades to regenerate a better amount of ammo, so I ran out and started to reload, which is going to reset my Blastmaster bonus. So get an Iron Bear because we're not going to have quite the damage as we would have on foot at the moment. Plus we got some badasses to deal with anyways. The Iron Bear does quite a bit of damage, and I'm just not quite as tanky in it with the gear I have on right now as you could be. I mean, you could have easily 150k health with the other gear I have in my inventory, but again, I prefer this. So I'm just trying to get his shield and most of his armor off, get out and throw nades because I know I'm going to take a lot of damage right away. Phone going off. Try to get this priority target right here. Goons, you definitely want to prioritize those targets. They will do a lot of damage to you. So this is going to be a good Good example of when I'm not getting really, well, I guess not. Now I'm getting topped off, so. I was hoping that would be a good example of how the cooldown is after you get a few kills without topped off active, but
Anybody counting?
let's let these guys kill themselves. Yeah, that's one thing about this final round 5, you know, you gotta pick Goliath. It takes a lot of that pressure off that you have to deal with in the other rounds. This guy's gonna try to make a turret. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I think there's been a tweak to where these turrets pop up a lot more now. Teams have a tendency to make them pretty much every team because it will make it before he dies if you don't take him out right away. Another priority target you want to focus on when you're in Iron Bear is, oh, well, fuck. That sucks that thing showed up right as I was hopping out. I would have loved to have taken it out with Iron Bear because it's a much faster kill. I could switch to the fire Kibsworth to deal with this anointed, but we'll just hit it with a lot of nades. Or maybe even put off killing it, since we got some other priority targets to deal with. So you're gonna get a lot of means of destruction procs if you got the cloning tracker, and you're doing a lot of instances of splash every time you fire. Oh shit. Well, I was trying to avoid that fucking anointed grenade thing and then ran right into that glass slam, so I got screwed there. Oh, he's already almost dead. So we'll just focus on the Tink instead. We're just gonna keep his health low since, yeah, we're almost out of enemies here, so I want to have a fresh Iron Bear for the next round. Or at least early into it, so I'm gonna go ahead and get out. Of course, it's gonna make a turret. I definitely want to have that turret taken out before the next round starts, so I don't focus on that at all. Kill him afterwards. Ah! Shit, you got me with these nades. As you can see, we got our Iron Bear back from that, so we're ready to go in this round with it. Wow, the thing is actually kicking my ass. Jesus. I didn't happen to know that this round starts with Rocket Badasses, so that's why I wanted to have Iron Bear ready to go. And it looks like I'm taking a lot of damage, so I just tried to get their armor bars down before I got kicked out. Because I was getting crowded there that I lost Iron Bear. I wasn't able to keep mobile enough to avoid a lot of the damage, so just eating everything. It's fine though, as long as we're throwing enough nades out here. Our last stand to keep us alive long enough to get these kills. So this would be an example of what the cooldown looks like without topped off, as long as you're getting some kills. So it's not exactly insanely fast, but it is pretty good. I don't know how many kills I've gotten, but as long as you he's going to make a turret. It's annoying. I'm not going to be able to stop him. Oh, we did good. Nope. There he goes. Whatever. I want to get rid of that rocket guy, but I don't know where it's at. Oh, there we go. There's the other one. It's rocketing Titan. Get rid of the turret. could have been throwing a whole lot more nades all this time and really like killing things a lot quicker, but I just like to shoot them in the face with my Trevonator instead, you know. It's more satisfying. But as you can see, like, I can keep my nades up, throw a lot of them. And you'll see in the Wotan kill that I'm going to link into this video. By the way, I will be linking a Wotan fight with this build using these other weapons. That is like a 4.5 minute kill. It's pretty good. And in that fight, you'll see that I can just sit there and hold down the trigger on this thing and just spam nades like just straight up. I mean, I could do this whole slaughter shaft with this if I wanted to, but again, you know, I like the Trevonator, so I like to primarily use it. Nice Augusta there. Oh, I'll pick that up actually. A Scourge too. Oh, that's a crappy one. Anyways, yeah, that's the build. Bearonator. It's really fun to play. Trevonator is a really fun weapon. It's pretty neat. Does good enough damage to where you can focus a whole build on it. You can do entire content with it. I mean, I've actually done the whole black site with this. I even killed Wotan with it, except for I used Wotan resist cryo, so I used one of these. I can't remember which one I used, but I think this one. One of the corrosion ones on him for his armor. It was a lot slower than my kill that I did with these weapons, but it worked. I went through the entire raid with just Trevenators, so you can do anything you want with it. And it's very versatile. Again, like I was saying, you can prioritize your Iron Bear time. You can prioritize your on foot time. You'll see in the Wotan kill, I use Iron Bear as just enter and exit for that kill, but throughout the raid I was spending a lot of time inside of it, so it's very versatile and it's really fun to play however you choose to play it, so enjoy.